So welcome to another edition of Building Peace during the pandemic. And this week, we're really glad to host Stephen Jackson, who's the resident coordinator of the United Nations in Gabon, to speak about the impact of the pandemic on, of course, efforts of building peace in Gabon, but in the wider region. So Stephen, tell us, how has the pandemic affected peace building efforts in Gabon?
I think there's three immediate ways in which that has happened. I mean, this is beyond what was a remarkable public health response. Gabon's done extremely well to contain the immediate nature of the pandemic, and it's actually one of the best performers in sub-Saharan Africa in terms of testing, keeping the cases low, keeping the positive tests low, and so on. But there's three ways at least. First of all, socially, Gabon's a very close-knit society. So just the lockdown measures that have helped Gabon arrive at controlling the pandemic for now have exerted a lot of stresses and strains. Mosques and churches are still closed. Bars, restaurants, nightclubs are still closed. We still have a curfew at 8 p.m. every night, and we have had since the start of the pandemic. That's helped us keep cases low, but it's really tough on a society that is very social, very close-knit. The second, of course, is the economy. This is an export economy built around petrol, as I've said, but also tropical hardwood, manganese. Global demand for that has dropped. Debt has risen enormously. The state is still the major employer here, and the public sector payroll is coming under great stress. And of course, this is an import economy. Almost all of our food is imported from Europe or from other parts of Africa. Very little of it's grown here. So all of that together means that COVID's had a very deleterious effect. Finally, Gabon has always been a very open, tolerant, welcoming country. Historically, it's been a host country for refugees. 1/3 of the population is, by some estimates, is non-Gabonese in origin. COVID is putting strains on that, on refugees, on migrant workers, on expatriates. We've seen a rise in xenophobia. We've seen a rise in stigmatization. The government's doing everything it can, and the UN is working on that too.
What does it mean for the UN in terms of changing priorities, in terms of new programs or new initiatives, and also in terms of ways of working? What have you had to do differently to continue doing the work that we do?
We have a very good digital infrastructure in Gabon. And so now we're talking, actually, I think, more to youth leaders in far-flung parts of the country than we were before COVID. What a paradox, because we could always have done this, right? But COVID has actually had the benefit of forcing us to do it. In terms of our programming, we re-geared right from the beginning. We reoriented straight away a sum of money, well, between what we reoriented from existing programming and what we raised anew. We doubled our program delivery from last year within the first 3 months of the pandemic. A lot of it has gone obviously into the frontline health response, but in terms of sustaining peace, the real challenge here is working on that nexus of social cohesion that I talked about before. Preserving and upholding this beautiful but fragile mosaic that is the population of Gabon, rural and urban. This is the most urbanized country in Africa, which is terrific. So you've got more than 50% of the population in the capital and 85% in total in 5 big cities. But that means you've got 15% of the country that risks getting left behind and getting left offline. So you have to preserve that. I mentioned the 1/3 that are non-Gabonese in origin. Women, we've seen an alarming rise in SGBV, gender-based violence, as we've seen elsewhere in the world. So we've had to really re-gear and target all of that. Peacebuilding Fund's really been helping us. We've got a new program that I'm very excited about that's going to be working along the Gabonese-Cameroonian border, as well as the Cameroon-Chad border. It's a 3-country program. It's going to be working on bringing youth leaders, and particularly young women leaders, into action as peace builders along the frontiers. Some of those frontiers are quite contested, quite violently so. And now we're giving that a COVID spin as well. So they're going to be part of looking at this nexus of stigmatization, fake news, xenophobia. They're going to be in the front line of responding to that. I do think, just to conclude, that really thinking about issues of inclusion, you said it as we were talking before we started recording, Marc-André, that COVID is a kind of a wedge that is deepening or risks deepening inequality and risks deepening exclusion. Gabon is actually historically a pretty equal country in terms of its measures of inequality. We do not want to lose that. We want to build on that. So that's really, as we move, I think the big challenge is going to come in 2021, actually, rather than 2020, as we really begin to experience the global economic shocks in a country that is pretty dependent on its economic relations to the outside world. We're really going to have to target this question of social cohesion.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Stephen, and wonderful to see you. Thank you for speaking to us today, and many congratulations to you and the team for the wonderful work that you're doing.
And thanks for everything that you're doing to support us.
Thank you.